Okay, so what I learned was multitasking wasn't the most effective when it came to my regulars class. They were working in tandem with Animal Farm as a mentor text and then writing their allegorical, historical short papers also. And I think that just gave them so much anxiety. It gave them divide in attention. They didn't know whether to focus more on getting the book done or focus more on the paper, because both of them were going on at the same time. Whereas regulars, they read the book, finished the book, and then started their narratives. And so that wasn't, stressful for them. They did have quicker turnaround. They had to produce their paper within a week, but regulars had a ton of time, and I think I would limit that time. I learned that the time wasn't being used effectively. It was just being used to procrastinate, to do other homework for different classes. It wasn't used for English or for understanding the text. So I guess if I were to teach this again in the future, I would have actual formal conferences with students instead of just circulating and checking in quickly like I did. I would actually pull them up to the desk and sit down and talk to them. So maybe we could have an honest conversation about what is going on, what are they understanding, what are they struggling with. And so maybe on one of the work days that I gave, I would do conferences as well. The other thing that I learned is focusing on plot of Animal Farm really distracted regulars from the allegorical content. They bombed that first part of the summative, and it's because we didn't spend enough time, I guess, on really driving that allegory into their brains. We drove plot into their brains. We had them do timeline notes, and I had them have a notebook check and everything to ensure that they were taking notes, which I thought ensured that they were doing the reading. I don't think that was the case, and that timeline stuff just distracted them from understanding allegory and understanding that Old Major stood for Lenin and Marx and what that meant when Boxer being the proletariat. I mean, these were simple things that we covered, and we did like 2 days of allegory, going through every chapter and really laying out everything that was packed into this book and unpacking it all. And I think it overwhelmed them. I think it needed to be bite-sized pieces, and it needed to be spread out over more time, and then that needed to be assessed throughout. Like my quizzes, instead of plot questions, it should have been allegorical questions. It should have been stuff that aligned with the summative test a little bit more. Again, because their attention wasn't in the right spot at the time that I thought it was, or at the place I thought it was. And so just narrowing it in and focusing on mastering one thing versus multiple, or giving more time to do this, this, and this, but really focusing on this first, and then this second, and then this third, instead of juggling all 3 of them. And that was just an organizational thing with the unit. That was researching my question of if using the mentor text and writing at the same time was more effective than just reading and then writing, but it seems to be reading and writing is less effective when doing it together with my regulars classes. Honors didn't struggle as much. So I learned that compartmentalization is actually a good thing for 8th graders. It gives them less anxiety, it gives them less stress, and it gives them more focus on one task. And so using that knowledge, I can plan better in the future and be more effective as a teacher, be more available to them, and know what they need. I check in with them more. So that's what I learned, is just focus. Focus on one thing at a time. Don't bite off more than I can chew, and don't have them bite off more than they can chew. It's just not fair to them. So yeah, I think that was the biggest takeaway from this Animal Farm allegorical and historical unit that I have taught.